welcome back to Master Glass, everybody. With 2020 finally behind us, I wanted to take a moment to kind of build this episode to recap some of the great things that happened on this show throughout 2020 and predominantly to learn from the experts that were on Master Glass giving us their instructions. And so I picked 5 topics, the ones that, most commonly there was a heavy opinion on. And let's do this. The first topic that came to mind, of course, was the topic of ice in cocktails and in spirits. And let's see what they had to say.
All right, now with big cubed ice that's hard, cold, and dry into the mixing tin, transfer our drink over ice, make the seal, shake tin forward.
Okay, so now it's time to add some ice. I'm not saying you have to do this, but if you want to impress your friends, go to your local ice store, and I have these beautiful diamond-shaped ice cubes. You don't have to do it, but if you want to add a little bit of swagger to your spritz, go ahead and do that.
But the beauty of the set here at Master Your Glass is that we have this wonderful ice, right? These really, really nice, dense, thick cubes.
Now you can make this with crushed ice. I like to use regular ice. It allows me to make a more refreshing cocktail.
And you can put crushed ice, you can put regular ice, whatever you like.
Okay, so the topic of ice, of course, has been highly covered by, the San Francisco-based Camper English, who has kind of pioneered this topic, along with perhaps Ryan McDougall here in Las Vegas, who has also championed the topic of ice a lot. But what I think I predominantly got from what the experts had to say was that ice should be cold, hard, strong, and it should not be melting. It should not be soft. And every major city has a ice company or a ice shop where you can find craft cocktail ice. And so if you're looking to step up your game and perhaps find that shop and purchase your ice there when you need really good ice. One of the things that's important is you don't always need that ice, right? Sometimes if you make the ice through your refrigerator or your freezer at home and you pull it out before it takes in all the flavors of your freezer, that can work too, depending on the occasion. Buying ice at the store, just regular, grocery store, that's good too. But sometimes you just need that really special ice, and that's when, of course, the craft cocktail ice shop is the way to go. What other relevant comments were made on ice? Well, that, pebble ice and crushed ice drinks can also be made with cubes in general. Now, one thing that was important, which was what we got from the mojito video, is if you put cubed ice instead of crushed ice, you will have a little more space. And so you will supplement that space if it's a drink that has a mixer or a non-alcoholic drink ingredient, you will supplement that space with the non-alcoholic ingredient, in which case your mojito will have a little bit more soda in it, and therefore it'll be a little bit lighter and perhaps a little easier to drink. However, on the flip side of that, if it's a drink that is not topped with a soda, such as a caipirinha, if you make the caipirinha with ice cubes instead of crushed ice, you're not going to augment the cocktail with any additional liquid. You're just going to have a cocktail that's a little different, but they'll both be cold, they'll both be delicious. Okay, the next topic was on changing a classic cocktail, either an ingredient or the method in which it was traditionally made. Let's check out some footage.
Well, coquito is traditionally made in the holidays in Puerto Rico. My grandma used to make this tea with cinnamon and cloves and vanilla, and now we have a bit of a modern version of the coquito, which is the one that I'm going to do today.
Traditionally, in Brazil, the caipirinha is made right directly into the glass, okay? So here, today, we're gonna make it in a slightly different way, but the end result is exactly the same.
Okay. Now that's generally your recipe for hot buttered rum. But of course, when we're making it, we always want to add our own little personal touch to it. I love it.
Classically, traditional in Brazil, they use granulated sugar.
Okay.
Nothing wrong with it. But if you want to do it a much easier way, and in a way that once you add the sweetener, which is going to be simple syrup, what happens when you add simple syrup, dissolves on contact. If we use granulated sugar, you actually have to stir it quite a bit. Otherwise, you're going to get those sandy, texture in your mouth. So simple syrup is the right way to go.
Okay.
And it's very easy because 1 lime yields about an ounce of juice. You put 1 ounce of simple syrup, and everybody's happy.
Gotcha.
Okay?
So there was a lot of footage that I could have added to this blurb, but I think resoundingly there were enough results here to allow me to formulate an opinion to give to you. So Armando, Joy, and Bobby G, they were all making a drink that had a very tight connection with their cultures, their childhood, and even in that case, they were willing to make a few modifications in their cocktail. So I guess what I'm getting from that is if they were willing to change something like a coquito or something like a caipirinha, then classic cocktails can be changed, especially as ingredients get a little better. And what was really interesting with Armando was not only did he change the ingredient by going from just plain sugar to simple syrup, he also changed the technique. But at the end of the day, he delivered what he said in the video was the same result. So if the result is the same or very, very similar, but the process is easier or the ingredient is more premium than it was back in the day, by all means, let's do that. So the next topic is the one that I used to be so animated about. And it's the topic of the order in which you add your ingredients into a cocktail shaker. Do you go cheapest ingredient first, or do you go lightest ingredient first? Let's go ahead and look at those who were in favor of cheapest ingredient first. Okay, so 3/4 lemon juice. We're adding cheapest ingredient first. I gotcha.
Don't jinx me, man.
Explain why you're a proponent of cheapest ingredient first.
I've just always preached that, where we start with the less expensive ingredients and then add our spirit to that, just in case we do make some type of an error, most commonly with sours.
Have you ever made a mistake before, Tony?
I thought I did once, but I was mistaken.
Tullamore Dew Irish whiskey. I'm going to put 1 ounce and a third in.
We have the cream, as you can see, the texture and consistency is a little thicker.
Now that we put the cheap products, which is the simple syrup and the lime, we're going to use Pisco.
So this right here is 1 full ounce of heavy whipping cream.
Got it. So that's 1 ounce and 30 milliliters. And now let's take a look at those who were in favor of the lightest ingredient first.
Very, very special. So we start out, the recipe is the same, and it's the most simple recipe. It's just 2 ounces of whatever tequila you're using that day.
True to a classic Manhattan, we're starting with 1.5 ounces of rye whiskey. Kind of thick and sweet.
Okay.
Just
so
like
full
Puerto
of
Rican
rum,
women.
Think and sweet. Just like
1.5 ounces of 100% agave tequila. So I'm going to go ahead and pour that in right there. Okay. Base spirit first. What's your philosophy on that?
It's just kind of the way I learned. You're making a gin and tonic. You're grabbing the gin first. Any cocktail like that, the gin fizz, you're reaching for the gin. It's the first ingredient in the name, and it's just how I learned.
Right.
I've tried to do it the other way, and I just can't seem to flip my mind around and start with the cheapest ingredients.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, they say, the cheapest ingredient goes first because if you have to throw the cocktail away. Now, you've been bartending since the 90s, right?
92.
92.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
Getting there, my friend.
Yeah.
So you've been bartending since 92. So how many of those mistakes have really happened that makes it worth building a drink the opposite way?
Almost never. Almost.
Okay, now that we've compiled those two schools of thoughts, I think that's a really split in half topic there. We have so many experts doing it one way, so many experts do it another way. And what really this makes me think is perhaps I'm overthinking this topic. And, let's see actually what Jacques does.
But we're going to start with a good ounce of Campari.
Wonderful.
And we're going to balance that with a beautiful gin, a little Tanqueray 10.
Okay, so Jacques did not pour the lightest ingredient first, nor did he pour the cheapest ingredient first. So once again, I think maybe we were just overthinking this, and you know what Jacques was doing in that video actually helped point that out really vividly. Let me know your comments below. Are we overthinking this? Does it really matter? Is it lightest first? Is it cheapest first? What are your thoughts? Okay, on to what is probably the most quirky one of all. Shaking with a smile and shaking the cocktail hard. Is that a thing? Let's see.
At home, when you're thinking about shaking a cocktail, what you want to do is make sure everything hits both ends. But we don't want to rock it. Mm-hmm. We want to shake it. Mm-hmm. And I always have two things that I always do when I shake a cocktail. Shake it hard and shake it with a smile.
Then when we shake it hard, we shake it fast, we shake it with a smile. And then it's all about the hard shake.
I love it. You got to shake it hard and shake it with a smile.
Prego, signore. Grazie mille. Fantastic, Jose. Thank you.
We're gonna give it a good shake.
All right. Very nice. Amazing.
So once we have poured it, we seal it, and we're gonna start shaking it with a big smile.
Tin forward.
I love it.
Harry Craddock said we want to wake it up, not rock it to sleep.
It looks like it's being woken up.
All right.
Gonna, you know, not rock it to sleep, but we're gonna shake the shit out of it. Right? I love it.
Okay. Well, I guess the results are in. Shaking with a smile and shaking hard is a thing. And I guess the best way I can comment that is a smile is infectious. So if the bartender, the cocktail maker, or you are smiling while you're shaking your cocktail, chances are your smile is rubbing off and going on that of the guests or the people that you're entertaining. And at the end of the day, isn't that what hospitality is all about? Isn't it about putting a smile and making people feel comfortable? So I say, shake it hard and shake it with a smile. Okay, so on to the topic that also has a lot of excitement around it and a lot of opinions, and that is garnishing. Is a garnish important, or is a garnish not important? Now, of course, this read is not necessarily thorough because in this case, I'm assessing a specific video of a specific cocktail. So somebody might say, I don't want to garnish this drink, but if we would have been making another cocktail, maybe they would have wanted the garnish. But let's go ahead and see first the opinions on, nah, we don't need a garnish.
You chose and opted to go with no garnish. Simple and easy.
We don't need the garnish because we like to squeeze the juice into the cocktail. It doesn't need.
You know, I was wondering if you would be opposed to me making a little change and adding like a little garnish.
Do not do that, please don't. Oh God, no.
Okay,
Oh, God.
okay, well what about, like, my daughter made this one. This.
I should have never told you I hate garnishes in drinks.
Oh, so what's your theory on the
God.
garnishes?
If it doesn't serve any function in helping the cocktail, I just throw it away.
And now, how about all those opinions of people who actually think the garnish is important?
The garnish. The garnish is also a divisive point because some people will put the lemon in and some will leave it out.
Gotcha.
You get a nice big wide swath of that and expel those oils over the top of the drink. Get a lot of nice oils on there. I personally like to put the garnish right in the glass.
Okay.
100 proof whiskey is going to extract that in maceration and continue to add lemon to it, and I like that. So
awesome.
I am so excited for the garnish because your girlfriend Amy handmade these chocolate covered cherries.
Yes, she did.
Now talk about a drink made with love.
I mean, the aroma already speaks a lot. And remember, we only taste 5 things. We smell tens of thousands of things. So aroma is so important, which is why the garnish is important, because it many times gives the aroma.
Yeah, I like to bring the eye up. And this is what I call a half moon wheel. and we can put that right on the rim. We'll face that to the camera, and it brings the eye up, and just beautiful color.
Okay. Now the drink is actually finished. This is how they serve it. I am going to garnish it, and again, this is simply to make the drink look a little better.
And we just put that watermelon right on the rim. That brings the eye up. Anybody seeing that sees, ooh, that must be a watermelon drink,
Yes.
right?
And it's tropical and fresh, and I'm gonna dig it.
And we want a little more aromatic. So
Once in a while you get lucky. All right, now express those oils over the top. And there you have from San Francisco with love, a 1996 cable car.
And I'm gonna take the garnish just to make it a little bit more fancy. This is not a requirement. And I know every time I make an episode where I talk about garnish, I get a lot of garnish haters on the comments, and that's fine. If you don't want to do it, just don't do it. So with so many interesting opinions on the garnish, it's really hard to assess. I'm gonna probably vote for the garnish is important, even if it's not contributing to the aroma, simply because, as Bobby G points out in the video you just saw, it brings the eye up to the cocktail, and that also is important. So the eye goes up, of course it contributes aroma in many cases, of course it makes the drink look a little better, and that does come though, of course, to the detriment sometimes of time and sometimes even an inconvenience. I have encountered cocktails where the garnish is in the way and it's hard to sip the drink. So it's kind of a 50-50, but once again, I'm gonna just lean a little bit more towards, yeah, if you can, put a garnish on the drink and do it the right way. All right, so I really would have wanted to add so much more footage to this video, but I thought that it would then not make the video easy and digestible enough. So we'll keep it to those 5 things. What are the learnings? Well, number 1, cold, hard, fresh ice is important. If your ice is melting, if it's in your hands and you see water coming out, don't use it, or try your very best to go get some better ice. Number 2, don't be afraid to experiment. So classic cocktail recipes have been modified throughout the years. So don't be thumping on that cocktail book too much. If you have a better ingredient, or if you have a simpler way to do it and it doesn't alter the DNA of the cocktail, go ahead and do that. Number 3, always have a good time, smile, mix a drink very happily, because that will add to the cocktail experience itself. Number 4, go ahead and garnish that drink, and if you can, because it's very cool. And number 5, of course, this was number 3, but I'm listing it as number 5, is it doesn't matter what order you pour in your ingredients, the cocktail will come out the same way anyway. So I would love to hear your comments below. Of course, this was a really great lineup this year of experts that were able to come on the show despite COVID and still show us their skills. And we still have more to come with Master Glass, so I will be continuing to bringing experts on this show. And of course, we'll continue to bring you some expert instruction for everyday consumption.